Hello all, welcome to Xerxez Solution. In this session number 5, we are going to discuss about integer floating point numbers, complex numbers in Python programming language. Python supports for, as you know, Python supports for integers, floating point numbers and complex number, and they are defined as int for the integer. Floating point can be defined using float keyword and complex classes in Python. Integers, let's talk about the fundamental concepts of data structure. Like integers and floating points are separated by the presence or absence of decimal points. For instance, let us imagine that, okay, I've taken one simple example. Let's say 5. 5 is an integer, whereas if you mention 5.0, okay, is that will get converted into floating point number. As far as this session is concerned, we are going to practice the different possibilities of handling the integer numbers, floating point numbers, as well as math module. Let's dive into hands-on sessions. Okay, so before opening, before performing practice, I recommend all of you to um, download the document parts which is available in the attached folder. Okay, so you can refer and you can explore, okay, how the integer and floating points can be used in a real time the machine learning based projects. Okay, so the complete detail is given with the explanation. You can refer the complete the documents. Let's dive into the hands-on session. Here I have already created the Jupyter notebook, okay, with all the possibilities of playing with the integer and floating point number. As far as integer is concerned, already I have mentioned, okay, 17. Let's try to take the example of 17. If you have mentioned 17, so that you can consider it as an integer. If it is 17.0, it will be considered, you can consider that one as an the floating point. Let's try to run this. So in my case, what I will do, let me try to insert two more row here. Okay. So in first case, let's try to uh, run 17 divided by uh, 17 divided by 3. Okay, 17 again it's a integer part, and divide by 3, 3 again it is a integer part. So when you perform division, you will get the value like 5.666, which further it is an the floating point. Okay, so it has converted into floating point here. Similarly, let us imagine that I want to make it as 4. Okay, so I'm going to get 4.25. Whatever, if you are performing division methods using integer, it always try to give the value within the floating point. Similarly, let's try to take the square of the numbers. In square of the numbers, what I have done, I have taken 2 to the power of 4, 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. Okay, so 2 to the 4, 4 to the 8, 8 to the 16 it is going to give me. And it is giving me, it's displaying the answer in the integer format. Similarly, let's try to divide this. Okay, minus 2. So let's try to head it. Okay, so 2 to the power of the minus 2, I'm going to get the value as a 0.25. Understood? Again, it is a floating point value. Okay, so Python interpreter are smart enough. Okay, so based upon the values, it try to convert your the type of the data structures. Now again, let's try to dive into the other special operation. We'll try to see special operations here. So let me try to add two more row below to the same line number 2. So here what I will do, I'll try to let's try to divide this. Okay, division in the sense, okay, 17 divided by 2, again I'm going to get same value, that is 5.666. Okay, so in the same way, if you perform now division, this numerator and operation, double operation, special symbols if you use, or let us imagine that you want the value in integer format, you don't want to be the floating point, so you can make use of the special symbol here. Okay, so double dash. Okay, so this will give you only the integer part of your answer. Okay, similarly in the division percentage wise, 17 divided by 3, so it gives you only the integer part of the answer. Understood? This is all about the integer part. So you take any projects, generally we start at assigning the variables or any values, okay, related to the numerical values. We generally use integer, either by we start with the integer part or the floating point. Okay, now next we have the other type of data structure called floating point numbers. Means when you have decimal part along with the integer, it's called the floating point. Okay, so let's try to have the value. Imagine that I have the value, like I want to give certain input. Imagine I have created one variable called x, okay, and I want to convert whatever the value you give. I want to convert that one into the floating point. I have taken the method called input. Input method will allow the user to enter the values, okay, and whatever the value I get, I'll try to convert that one into floating point, and I'm going to display this one using the print statement. Enter it. So I got the form here, so I can give the value. Let's say I have given 52.21. Okay, so enter it. So I'm going to get 52.21. Again, let us say I have given 10, which is an integer part. If I run this again, so I'm going to get the floating point value as a 10.00. Okay, or 0 also you can say. So this is how floating point works. I just wanted to clear the concept, like floating point will also include the decimal point, decimal numbers, but when it comes to integer, it is just an integer point. Similarly, integer part, let's say I want to have the integer part of only integer part of this numbers 1.3, so I can make use of that called int. Okay, if you are using float will get. If you use integer part will get. In the same way, 1.7 I have used minus 1.3, so in this case I'm going to get the integer value as -1. In this also I'm going to get -1. Let's try to run this. So you can see the only the integer part of the values are displayed in Python programming language. Same way, there is a concept of rounding the numbers, flooring the numbers, sealing the numbers. Understood? So if I want to take the round figure of this, a round of 1.3, so round of 1.3, so it try to differentiate between 1.5 and 1.5 to 2. So if it is, let's say, 1.6, it will round it to 2. Okay, if it is lesser than 5, it will try round it to 1 here. So in this case, I'm going to get 1.3, I'm going to get 1. 1.6, I'm going to get 2. Here, minus 1.3, I'm going to get -1. 1.7, I'm going to get minus 2 here. Run it, so you can see the values are displayed. Next is it is also possible to take the sum of the numbers, uh, even the floating point, let's say uh, integer point, so and so forth. In this case, I'm going to perform addition operation zero point 0.1 plus zero point 0.2. Okay, so it should give me the value as okay, zero point 0.3, 0.333. It's going to give me the value. Okay, run this and you can see the values are changed here. If I change this, let's say I have mentioned integer part now along with the floating point, so you can say 4.1 is displayed. Understood? So this is how floating point concepts generally we use in Python programming language. Python is so smart. Okay, Python is smart enough that based upon the conditions it try to display the values. Next, in the same way, Python also support for math modules. Okay, so mathematical modules, but to implement mathematical module, you need to import the function, okay, library called math. Import math. So the moment when you import math, you are going to get all the options which are required to handle uh, all the mathematical formulas. Let us try to have simple example. X is equal to, I want to have the ceiling values of the ceiling, means next number. Understood? So I can call it as method called math dot seal is a subclass inside the main class called the math. So whatever the value I'm going to get, I'm going to store this one in x value, and I'm going to print this x value. Understood? Next, I'm going to have the ceiling again 1.1 plus 3.8. So again it is going to give me the value as a 5 here. Understood? So there is another technique generally we can make use of. This is just an introductory part of the libraries also. Okay, uh, I can call, instead of calling everywhere ceiling, I can call at once ceiling from math is a main class. Inside this class I have ceiling, which is nothing but the subclass. You can call this subclass and you can use anywhere here. Now I'm going to have two variables. X is equal to 7 divided by 2. Whatever the value I get from the x, I'm going to take the ceiling value of that and I'm going to store where in y. Understood? And I'm going to print the value as a y here. Enter it. So I got the value as a 4. 7 divided by 2. So it is going to get around 3.4 something. The ceiling value of 4.3.xyz is nothing but the 4 here. Okay. I hope you are clear with the concept of uh, integer. Next, special operations, floating point numbers, math modules. In next session, we'll try to explore some more concepts using Python programming language. Thank you. Thank you very much.